Welcome to Priceless Takes.
Good morning, listeners. We are live from Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome back to episode 5 at Priceless Takes. What a weekend in the world of sports. Not only did we have the best of the NFL action with my man Joe Burrow absolutely toweling up on NFL Sunday. We will get into that later in the show. We had awesome action in the World Cup, which we will begin our episode with. This morning I have the all sports guru David Price joining me. I also have, again, Jakob and joining me from Brisbane, Australia. How are you boys this morning?
I've got a bit of jet lag because I'm in Atlanta as well. I'm normally up very early in the mornings, but someone's keeping me awake at night, aka Luca over there. So, otherwise, America's very good. I've been on a scouting mission for the Atlanta Falcons as they're playing absolute rubbish at the moment and can't win a game. So I've been nice and busy.
No worries. Yeah, it's 10 o'clock for me here. It's about 2 hours past my bedtime, so...
Yes, that's all right. It's good to have you back, David. David was flying over to the States in the last episode. But, gents, we will get right into it. What a grand final for the 2022 FIFA World Cup overall, which was the pinnacle of an exciting and rivalating tournament. We had a clash of the Titans matchup, Argentina and Messi versus Mbappe and France. The game ended up being decided by a penalty shootout, Argentina winning 4-2 with both young guns, Coman and Tchouaméni, missing consecutive penalties for France, and that wrapped it up for Argentina. Argentina took a 2-0 lead. Messi scored and assisted. Mbappe scored 2 goals in under a minute, tying it up at 2-2. Both goals were scored in extra time, one by Messi and Mbappe, before Argentina was victorious in the penalty shootout. Mbappe was the first player to score a hat-trick in the World Cup since 1966 in the World Cup final, and Messi captures the elusive World Cup that many were saying that he needed to capture in order to truly end the debate on who is the greatest football player of all time. But I want to hear from you first, David, aka Mr. Argentina, who has ridden with Argentina throughout this whole tournament. I want to get your overall thoughts on the game, but more specifically, did Argentina deservedly win this grand final?
Okay, well, let's just start from the start, which was 4 weeks ago, and who said Argentina were absolute certainties to win the World Cup. And then after the first game, when everybody said they couldn't win when they lost to, it's very early in the morning, Iran.
Saudi Arabia.
No, Saudi Arabia.
I was close. That's
The guru doesn't know his facts.
I told you I had jet lag. And then I said to all the punters around Australia and the world to double up on Argentina. Now, my biggest punter, who's been with me for 10 years, has had 100,000 on Argentina at $7. He's won $600,000. He had $100,000 on the Rams last year, won $1.2 million, and $100,000 on Geelong. He doesn't take all our tips because sometimes we do lose, which is very rarely in the day-to-day betting. But he does take the long-term tips every time. He's won $2.5 million in the last year on our long-term tips. So I don't want to pat myself on the back too much, but Argentina was an outstanding tip, especially seeing you two are the soccer gurus, and my specialty is NFL and AFL. I just want to let you know who the man is, who's your daddy, you two young bucks. I know, Luca, you had four picks. I don't want to exaggerate. Got them all wrong. Ended up ticking Morocco in something or other. I don't even know. England, Brazil, Morocco, you name it. But the daddy over here tipped Argentina and stuck with them all the way, and we got the chocolates. And I don't know about you, Jakob, but I do know you were on Croatia and you got rolled with them, and they never looked likely. So I think you swapped like Luca and got on Argentina at the end. But let's put all that aside, considering how right I was. The game was fascinating. Luca, I do remember calling you. I was in Dallas and you were in South Carolina, and I said Argentina are now protecting the lead. What minute was that? Was that about the 55th minute?
No, I'd say it was around the 70th minute.
So 70,
closer to.
Jakob, at the 70th minute, I rang Luca and I said, right, we've got danger time here because Argentina are now trying to protect their lead and they've stopped attacking. And that's when Mbappe and France really looked the goods. And I actually thought France were going to win at that stage because Argentina had They didn't do that in the semi-final, but they did that in the quarter-final and the round of 16. They got the yips up. They stopped attacking. Messi went missing for, 15 or 20 minutes. And I must say, Mbappe was so impressive, and he lifted that team, and he was inspiring. And I actually thought that Argentina really were going to lose that game at that stage, and I actually thought France were the better team in the last part of the match. And I, believe it or not, I thought France then deserved to win the game. That last goalkeeper stop was absolutely incredible. I thought that
123rd minute.
123rd minute, I thought France then would have scored that goal and won the goal. Once it went to penalty shootout, I sent a text out to all my punters around the world if they wanted to double up again to get on the $1.85 at the penalty shootout because I knew Argentina would win. People recorded great results and texted me and just said, Pricey, you're the king. Not only have we won, we've just won and won and won and won and won throughout the tournament. In every game, you just keep producing for us. I've got a holiday coming up from Stewie, our man. He's won over $2.5 million. He's sending me on a holiday. So overall, it was a fantastic tournament. Very, very happy. I'm looking for. It was honestly the best game of soccer. As you know, it's not my favourite sport, even though I will watch lawn bowls. It was an outstanding game. It was fantastic for the sport. And no doubt Messi will go down now as the greatest player, in my opinion. He deserved everything he got. He seems like a wonderful human being and a great bloke. So well done to him. Great tournament, even though people bad Qatar. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching it. I agree. I was in the square with about 1,000 people in Dallas, in Texas. 3.25 billion people watched it around the world, which is fantastic for soccer. Great for the game. So thoroughly enjoyed it, and well done, Argentina.
Yep. Jakob, your thoughts on the game?
My thoughts are Argentina played well. I believe, honestly, they deserved to win. They controlled most of the game. Obviously, when it came down to that crunch time towards the last 10, 15, they kind of took the foot off the pedal. Obviously, Mbappe, good goal and penalty.
Do you think he should have got the other penalty? Do you think he should have got the other penalty on the... That was... You guys know the game better than me. That was a controversial moment. And what minute was that?
The Di Maria one?
Yeah.
Is it the Di Maria one?
No. It is the third penalty. No, look, the reason they gave that penalty... The reason they gave that penalty is because they only give you penalties if your arm is... Because his arm was like... He jumped and his arm was out.
It's an unnatural position.
If his arm was like this, it would have been different. But his arm was like that.
With referees, handball has been a big controversy over the years because it's... As much as they're trying to narrow it down, it's still very subjective. So it's something that one referee will give, another referee on another day in another game may not give.
No, I'm talking about when Mbappe was just outside the box. He clearly got tripped. It was right at the death knock.
Oh,
yeah.
Are you referring? Trying to think. You're saying he should have had a penalty.
He said it wasn't awarded.
I don't think it was a penalty.
It may have been. Was he?
It was just outside. Yeah, he was. His foot where he went.
Yeah,
it was
okay.
just
So that's
outside.
Probably why.
And he sort of went in.
So the ref may have missed it.
Yeah, okay.
Because VAR can only intervene if it's a penalty or red card situation. Okay. If it's outside the box like that,
it was right.
They don't have much of a say. Cool. So there's no, Otherwise, it slows the game down too much. You'll be stopping it every 2 minutes, looking over every free kick. But Argentina's first penalty was a bit
questionable.
But
are we really surprised by that though? Let's be honest.
No, look, they've had a penalty. I think they're the first team. They're the first team ever in history to have had a penalty in the round of 16, the quarterfinals, the semi-final, and now the final. And half of those have been very questionable decisions. Whether they gifted Messi, a cheeky little goal, I don't know. But
now Jakob and David, I actually recall someone on this side of the table. David, you weren't here for the last episode, so I don't expect you.
I was in the air.
I don't expect you to know. But I actually recall someone on this side of the table predicting first here on Priceless Takes that there would be a dodgy penalty call in the favour of Argentina. And I don't think anyone was really surprised that Argentina got the penalty call.
Yeah, I don't... Look, there's contact in the box, he's fallen, but is there enough contact? Because realistically, you can say it's a contact sport at the end of the day. There's going to be contact. And I don't think it was much of a clip. I think he felt a little nudge and he's gone down.
I watched the penalty in slow motion, and Dembele was running alongside him, and Di Maria's foot, when he ran, his foot lifted, and his foot went into the back of Dembele's leg, and he fell over.
Look,
Yeah.
That is
look,
that is
look,
the slow motion.
look. From a non-conspiracy point of view,
But it's not conspiracy, it's fact.
yeah,
That's what
well,
we
it
can
is
see.
fact.
I was
That's what
about
happened.
Ante Jakob. Instead of disagreeing with Luca, I actually agree. I think Argentina got the rub of the green throughout the tournament, and I
Yes.
think they were favoured. Whether that was told to the referees or not, or whether the referees just like Messi, I don't know. But there were some questionable calls, and it comes back to soccer being corrupt because we all know deep down the game
Yeah.
is corrupt, and that's the only blight on the.
Well, look at FIFA.
Well, FIFA is the most corrupt body in the world, apart from
Yep.
the governments of Australia and the United States and a few others we can name, but they're definitely like a government body that's so corrupt. But that's the World Cup was the most successful, but then you can argue that those the corruption with Qatar getting it. And then Argentina. But look, Messi deserved. The question I've got for you guys is what does Messi do now? And does Mbappe take over the mantle? Being only 23, winning a World Cup, playing in a World Cup final, can Messi only be the GOAT now for 10 years and then Mbappe become better than Messi? Like, what do you guys think about Messi in the next... What does Messi do now? And then what does Mbappe do? From a non-soccer fan, for the people out there, I want to know your thoughts.
Are you saying as in like what does Messi do now in his career?
Yeah.
Does he retire
Yeah.
or does he continue? Oh, look, I think he would like to continue. He said he'd like to continue still. He wants to perform still for his club and country. And I think he will until his body can't do it anymore. And whether that's a personal decision or a physical decision, I guess time will tell. Reports, I think, Ronaldo might be retiring.
He needs to.
Someone was telling me. I don't think that will happen. I don't think he'll let that
Or
happen. But
taking the bag and going to Saudi Arabia.
that's another question. But he's already got enough money. Does he need any more?
No.
Does he want to ruin his legacy for money? I don't think he does.
I think it'd be a pretty bad look if Messi wins the World Cup and then he goes and plays in Saudi Arabia, personally.
I think that will, ruin. But you can't deny what he's done for the past 10, 15 years,
phenomenal.
man. That's the thing. The last year has not been the best for him, but prior to that, he's been up there with Messi, hand in hand. They've been the two best players of our generation and the two best players of all time, I'd like to say, but I can't confirm that because I didn't watch the other greats play like Maradona, your Pele, even Zidane, who are up there as well. So it's very subjective. It's a touchy subject.
Luca, your opinion, and what about Mbappe?
My opinion on the game.
Yeah, and
No,
Messi.
Mbappe.
And Messi and Mbappe.
Yeah, look, Messi solidified his legacy, especially in Argentina. The one thing that everyone held over him was that Maradona was able to bring them a World Cup in 1986, and Messi hasn't been able to bring them a World Cup, especially after they lost in the final in 2014. That was something that, people, myself personally, didn't think that Messi would get another chance. That was his chance in 2014 to win. I didn't think he would have another chance, but then obviously that didn't happen. So for the overall legacy, I think Messi cemented his legacy for now. The thing that I think about with Mbappe is that he's done so much at such a young age. He's already sixth or equal sixth on the all-time World Cup scorers. I'm pretty sure he's tied with Messi, for overall goals scored in the World Cup. And he's only just getting started. Messi's at the end of his international career. It'll be interesting to see when they get back to their club, Paris Saint-Germain. Apparently Mbappe has veto rights and can choose which players come into the club and which players leave. And considering Messi also plays for that club, it'll be funny to see if there's any animosity and Mbappe will ship him off somewhere.
I don't think so.
No, I don't
Somewhere.
think so either.
I don't think so.
I doubt it. So
I
look,
doubt it. But
there's been a lot of talk about Messi going to play in the MLS for Inter Miami, David Beckham's team, which would be awesome. But Messi's done so much in his career, winning that World Cup. I think he would be completely fine legacy-wise going to play in the MLS. A lot of older players in their late careers have gone there, especially Miami. Miami's a hot show. He'd love it there. But in terms of their legacies, can Mbappe run the show? I think he will run the show once Ronaldo and Messi are gone. I think when you look at their play styles, what this matchup showed is that whenever Messi was able to do something, Mbappe was able to come right back at him and say, whatever you can do, I can do as well, or if not, I can do better. The fact that he was able to score 2 goals in a minute was obviously one was a penalty, but that was pretty insane. But their play styles, I think that Messi overall is a better player. I think Mbappe overall, Messi obviously is lazier later in his career, but I think Messi's more of a creative player. I think he's better with his feet. And I think that as an individual, he can lift his teammates to play better. I think Mbappe plays better than everyone else to lift his team. I think there's a difference in how they play.
You got to look at it as well. They both play different positions.
Exactly.
You know, they both have different play styles. When you look at the stats between Messi and Mbappe from where Mbappe's at now, 23, I think Mbappe's got almost, double the amount of goals he had at Messi's age when they were both 23. Yeah. The only thing, obviously, the biggest thing that's setting them apart at this age is Messi already had a Ballon d'Or to his name, which Mbappe is yet to receive. And judging how things are going, Messi may be on his way to his next one, and Champions League too. And Mbappe is going to have to play catch up for the next 10 years if he's going to want to cement himself as being the best of all time, which I don't think he will get there. But
I don't think he will. I think he'll get close.
It's possible. But then as well, watching Messi and Mbappe play, when I watch Messi play, I think, man, like the way when he was younger, when he moved the ball, when he dribbled, he'd score, he'd take on 5-6 players, the way he'd dominate games, just the way he'd played was just like alien-like. Now Mbappe is a good player, but I don't think he's on the same level as Messi.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, look, we will have to move on in a second to our NFL segment, but I'll ask you both one more question about the overall World Cup. What did you make of Argentina's overall World Cup run? Obviously, losing to Saudi Arabia at the very start to winning the World Cup. Jakob, I'll hear from you first this time.
Oh, look, they've had a great run. Obviously, a bit of a shaky start with the Saudis. Maybe that was a bit of fixing on their part, you know, bit of $21 odds, you know.
$1 at half time.
Yep. So, I mean, we can speculate, but however, the rest of their games, they've been playing very well. Everyone's going Messi, but they also had a very good team, as well as a very good goalkeeper who
saved
their
amazing. He was
saved them.
He was nearly bit as good as Messi. He was phenomenal.
Look, I don't think he may. I'd like looking statistically. I don't think he was the keeper of the tournament.
No,
but when it came to the crunch time, he pulled out the goods. All right.
Oh, he was amazing.
Yeah, he did.
You know, and that's where I think where in previous tournaments, let's say they conceded that last minute goal, Messi still hasn't won a World Cup, and then you're back to square one. But obviously, football's a game of moments, and he produced.
Yeah,
he produced.
Yeah,
for me, he was the player, the goalkeeper of the tournament. For me, from what I saw, he was at the crunch times, as Jakob said. He stood up when it really mattered. He was fearless.
Who do you think the keeper of the tournament was then, Luka?
I think it could have been easily given to Livakovic, or it could have also been given to Bono. I think Bono, especially going the whole tournament basically without conceding a goal. I also saw a statistic last night, the comparison between Livakovic and Martinez.
Yeah, I saw that too. It was huge.
Inside the box saves, Martinez had 3 for the whole tournament. Livakovic had 15.
Yeah, but Martinez stood up. That's my point. He stood up in the crunch time.
I agree. He did stand up.
I understand that. But also you can't Livakovic basically.
If Livakovic was in the Argentina team.
Yeah, listen, Livakovic basically got them over the line against Brazil just as much. He made 10 saves in that Brazil game. He made which is obviously it's different, a World Cup final. Obviously, Martinez made the save against Australia. The thing that I just have as a problem being a goalkeeper in general is that normally it's not the best goalkeeper who gets the award, it's the best goalkeeper on the best team who gets the award.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I
you
agree
could
with
have
that.
look, you could have given it to Martinez. He did make some great saves in the crunch time, but if we look at overall for the tournament, there were goalkeepers that outperformed him. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with him being given the award, even though I do think there were keepers that were more deserving. But I see why they did give him the award.
Just on
I
a
think
finishing
as
note,
well.
on a finishing note, then Jakob, you can say that we've got to
Yeah.
go. But
Yeah.
the defining moment for the whole World Cup tournament for me was Argentina losing the very first game to Saudi Arabia. Okay, because they hadn't lost a game in over 60 games, and that was the moment they bonded together and they said, "Okay, listen up here, boys. We can win this, or we can go out with our heads bowed." And they stood up and they manned up and they got it together. That was the defining moment. That's why I said to all the punters that get Pricey's tips is double up, because that was a defining moment for me. That was the tournament.
Yeah,
that first loss.
I agree. Jakob, final words from you, and we'll have to go.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wrap it up, aren't we? Look, Argentina had a great run. France had a great run. Morocco had a great one.
So did
Croatia had a
Croatia.
great run. Yep, there were teams that produced and they were underdogs. I think the best team did win the tournament. I'd have to say that. And overall, it was a very good tournament. Obviously with everything that was happening prior to it, all the what's the word? Not discrimination, controversy. Yeah, the complaining, I guess you would say. But as well, there was a stat: first tournament ever, no England fans were arrested.
Yeah, I saw that when I woke up this morning.
So I guess everyone was in line. It was a good tournament, lots of memories, and I think it will be remembered very fondly.
All right.
Agreed. Thank you, Jakob. I'll see you again soon.
You.
That's all for our World Cup episode. David and I will be back after the short break with our NFL wrap up for the weekend. Thank you all for waiting for our break. We are back live. I'm here again with David. We're going to give you our NFL recap for the weekend. Before we get into the thick of things, 4-4 from Priceless Picks. We had the Eagles, we had the Vikings, we had the Bills, and we had the Bengals. 4 out of 4 in your all-up. Absolute great work from Pricey's picks over the weekend. Very happy chappies over here. But now
450% money on your return, Luca Price.
Exactly. It was a very successful weekend. But are we really surprised that they won? No, because
it's 33-0 down to the Vikings. I was very surprised we got up.
Maybe aside from that. But overall, we never really looked in doubt. First topic on the agenda is my man, Joey Burrow, and David's man, Josh Allen. We are going to talk about the Bills first, beating the Dolphins 32-29, moving to 11-3 on the season to hold the 1 seed. Josh Allen was 25 of 40 for the game, 304 yards, 4 touchdowns, 77 rush yards, and 1 fumble lost. The Bills were down by 9 points with 12 minutes left to play after being previously up by 8 at halftime. Josh Allen leading a game-winning touchdown and field goal drive, which was 15 plays and 86 yards to kick a field goal in the snow as time expired. David, obviously this was a big game for the Bills after losing to Miami in week 3, but how does this impact the Bills going forward?
Oh, Luca, I have very little hair, as you know, and I was in a bar in Dallas talking to the locals, as I love to do in America, and I was pulling my hair out at this Bills team. Josh Allen certainly produced the goods, but right at the very end, only when he had to fall over the line. When the snow started coming down, I said to the bartender, I said, this will be a wipeout now. I said, Bills will win easy. Like Miami are used to the heat, Bills are used to the snow, and the Bills just kept fumbling and turning the ball over. And look, I don't want to be a turncoat and a flip-flopper like yourself, but the Bills the Bills cannot win a Super Bowl on this performance and their performance.
What did you say? Did you say the Bills can't win? Is that preseason Super Bowl pick rescinded? Oh my God, I never thought I'd see the day. After tipping Argentina in the World Cup, you'd think he'd double down on the Bills, but he's withdrawn. I think he knows that Joe Burrow, he's afraid of Joe Burrow after his immaculate performance on the weekend. But David, I'll let you finish.
Can I finish?
You can finish. Please go on.
I'm not jumping off my tip of the Bills, okay? What I'm saying is they're not playing well enough to win a Super Bowl, and they
Okay.
can't keep getting out of jail like this. If they
Yes, they
produce their
can't.
A game, they can win. But their performances over the last 6 weeks have been terrible. Now, there's two Super Bowl favourites. I don't know why. Maybe the bookies think they're going to come good. I keep hoping they're going to come good because Josh had a phenomenal game. But they're just falling apart, and he's playing inconsistent. He's playing loose. Um, while I'm here in Atlanta, I caught up with a mate yesterday, knows a lot about the NFL, and he just said the same thing. He said Josh Allen is just playing loose football, but when it counts, he gets up. Luca, phenomenal win, but very lucky.
Yeah, look, another one that the Bills had to really, really work for. The defense didn't play as good as they have been in past weeks. In past weeks, the defense has been bailing Josh Allen out, but you'd think that the Miami Dolphins needed to have a solid offensive game. Tua Tagovailoa was 17 of 30 for 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. He didn't play amazing. He didn't throw a
No,
600-yarder like he did against the Ravens back in the season, but he did enough. The Miami defense, I thought, did a decent job. Obviously, Josh Allen threw 4 touchdown passes, but they put themselves in a position where they could have won the game. And that was the biggest thing for me, is especially I thought as well when the snow came down that this would heavily favor the Bills. It ended up favoring the Bills in the end because they were down by 9 in the fourth quarter and did win. So it did end up favoring them, but it wasn't as dominant as you probably both of us thought it would be.
are we being too hard on Josh when he keeps winning the game week in, week out, and keeps producing the goods in the fourth quarter?
I don't know. I don't think you've ever been hard on Josh Allen to begin with. But, me being the objective analyst I am, I think that it's going to catch up with him in the playoffs and he's not going to be able to continue doing what he's doing, especially he might not even be able to get past Mahomes playing the way he is. But even if he does get past Mahomes, he's definitely not going to be able to get past the Cincinnati Bengals, who are looking like absolute dynamite right now. But we're going to get into that game in a second. I do want to cap off with the Bills saying that the home field advantage I think is going to be a thing for them in the playoffs. But it will be interesting to see that they've never had a home, like they've never been the 1 seed. They've always had to travel. When they've lost to Kansas City in the past, they've been on the road. When they've lost to Houston in the past, they've been on the road. But I think that Josh Allen is going to have the Aaron Rodgers effect, who begged and begged for an NFC Championship game at Green Bay, at Lambeau Field. And what happened when he got one? He choked to Thomas Brady. And I think the same thing is going to happen to Josh Allen if he gets a home playoff game for the AFC Championship game. Joe Burrow is going to come in and absolutely throw a touchdown party on him. David, you probably don't have much to say about it
Luca.
because you know it's true. You
The
know
only
I'm right.
no, the
We,
only
you
thing.
are, and I know that is what's going to happen. Joe
No,
Burrow is playing a million miles above Josh Allen right now, and it is not a comparison.
I'm going to give my man Josh the benefit of the doubt. I'll give him a call after this and just tell him you're full of whato, because the thing I think about the Bills is they're concentrating only on the Super Bowl and they're not thinking about these regular games. They're thinking about the playoffs. They've got too far ahead of themselves. I'm not a huge rep for their coaching division, and I do think that they need to start focusing on being in the moment in every single game instead of looking too far to the future. That's the only way they'll get beat, which is a real possibility at the moment because they can't focus.
It is a real possibility, but we will move to the other side where Joe Burrow, Joe Shiesty, the one and only, absolutely put on a dominant second half performance. The first half, they versed the Buccaneers, who were sitting at 6-8, and Tom Brady came out looking the best he's looked all season in the first half. They got out to 17-0. It ended up being 17-3 at halftime. The second half, this was truly a game of two halves. Another big comeback that we saw over the weekend. Brady had 4 turnovers, all nearly in consecutive drives, 2 interceptions, 2 fumbles. Before that, the Buccaneers had a botched fake punt attempt on 4th down, which gave the Bengals the ball. It was an absolute shocking performance by Tom Brady in the second half. But the Bengals scored 31 unanswered points. Joe Burrow was an absolute demon. He threw 4 touchdown passes for the game. Look, I am a little bit cold right here in Atlanta, but I think that Joe Burrow was ice cold on the weekend. They call him Joey Brr for a reason because he was ice cold on the weekend, David. You can't deny it. It was an absolutely scintillating second half performance. And the question that I'm going to answer myself first before I hand it over to you is, should the Bengals be considered the favourites in the AFC? And I am a definite yes. The Bengals, without a shadow of a doubt, should be considered the favourites in the AFC. They are playing absolutely insane. Two of their best defensive players were out on the weekend. They still had DJ Reader, who basically forced both of those fumbles. And the Bucs secondary with the interceptions. Their defense, like I said, statistically, they aren't the best defense. But what do? They make big plays when it counts. Big situational plays. All right? This is what's going to get them over the line. Against the Josh Allen, against the Patrick Mahomes, against the Lamar Jackson. They should be the favourites without a doubt. Cincinnati is nearly, not as cold, it is nearly as cold as Buffalo. They won't have any problems going up to the Bills and toweling up your man Josh Allen. I don't even know what more to say. Hey, another stat I'm going to throw at you, David. In the red zone this year, I'm pretty sure you know what the red zone is, but just in case you don't,
really?
for our viewers out there, I'll just remind you: the red zone is when you are 20 yards or less inside of scoring a touchdown. Joe Burrow, 21 touchdowns to 0 interceptions in the red zone this year, David. 21-0 in the red zone. 112 quarterback rating, the best in the NFL. When the money is on the line, Joe Burrow makes the big money plays. He shows you the money, like our good man Jerry says. He is the man. He will be unbeatable in the playoffs unless something dramatic happens. Book it. They are the favourites to win the AFC. I want to hear your response, David. I don't know if you have much of a response for the performance Joe Burrow put on the weekend.
I'm surprised you let me finish. I thought you were going to take the whole rest of the show out. Now, I saw you before the show. It is very cold here in Atlanta. I saw you writing a letter. Are you still writing love letters to Joe Burrows each night?
Oh, my God. You're one to talk. Listen.
No, what were you writing? What was that letter you were writing? Was that a love letter?
That letter.
I see you writing every night.
God! Come off
dinner.
it! Come off it! This is ridiculous. Look, as much as Joe Burrow is a great quarterback, I'm an objective sports analyst. If he plays a bad game, he plays a bad game. When Josh Allen plays a bad game, which is occurring just as much as he plays a good game, I call him out on that. If Joe Burrow plays a bad game, I call him out on it. I don't play favourites. I'm not like my man Skip Bayless, who has a love affair for Tom Brady. I don't play favourites. I'm objective. And what I'm telling you right now is you cannot deny 21 touchdowns to 0 interceptions in the end zone. You cannot deny that.
I'll quickly talk about your man Joe, and then I'll get on to Tom. Look, he's playing well. Statistically, the runner-up in the Super Bowl has a poor year the year after. And that's been for the last... as long as I can remember and following NFL.
I think the last team to overcome that would be the 1990 to 1994 Bills, who reached 4 straight Super Bowls and couldn't win any of them, but continued.
Yeah, and statistically before that, they performed poorly. The Bengals had a very average start to the season, as we did predict on Priceless Takes. They are coming good at the right time. Look, he's playing very well, and the team's coming good. And this year's been a lot about momentum. Like, we've seen real shifts in games over the course of the last 4 or 5 weeks of teams like the Panthers, for instance. Teams that were as hot at the start of the season are now going lukewarm to cold, and teams that were cold as ice, are lifting. Like, look at the Lions. It's been an incredible season for the NFL. It has been. A very even season, which was what they want. There's been turn-ups every week. It's been amazing to watch. Look, as you know, I love Tom Brady. I do every week. I admire the guy. He's the GOAT, in my opinion. I told you week in, week out, he should have retired last year. Look, I was sitting in the airport watching the game on a delay. Thanks, United. And I thought, to you who loves Tom Brady as well, and you don't want him to retire, watching that first half, I thought, gee, have I got it wrong? Which is very rare. And I thought, should Tom keep going? Because he's playing that well. He did his normal up and down, up and down, up and down. Kept getting his yardage, touchdown after touchdown. He looked vintage, Tom. I don't know what happened at halftime, but he fell apart. Fumbles, intercepts. he looked like the Tom that I've seen most of the season, which is the one that should retire. And I won't bag him because he's a GOAT and a champion, but just please retire at the end of the season.
Look, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what happened. The Joe Burrow, obviously, while he did absolutely have a smashing performance in the second half, he did throw an interception on the opening drive of the game. The Bengals got the ball first. Joe Burrow threw an interception. This gave Brady not only decent field position, but it gave them control of the game early. A lot of times in the season, we've seen the Buccaneers fall behind early in games, and then this is why Brady, he stands back by himself. Everyone knows that they're going to throw the ball, but they were in a position in the first half where they were able to establish the running game. And by establishing the running game, the Bengals simply couldn't hold all their players back. They had to go forward and put players in the box, meaning Tampa was able to establish the running game. This saw that they were able to use motion for the receivers, they were able to use play action, and they were able to get the ball down the field and score, which is why they looked so good in that second half. If Tom Brady didn't turn the ball over, I still think Joe Burrow would have led them to a victory. However, it definitely wouldn't have been in the 31 unanswered points that we saw. Brady turning the ball over and Joe Burrow scoring the ball quickly saw exactly what happened throughout this season. Brady stood back in the shotgun by himself. Everyone knew what they were going to do, and it was so easy to defend. It was predictable. The reason the Buccaneers got out to a lead in the first half is because they were confusing the defense. They were actually making the defense think, are they going to run the ball? Are they going to pass the ball? And when you make a defense think and you're unpredictable, that's when you're going to put points on the board. And the Buccaneers were so predictable in that second half because they turned the ball over. That's why they ultimately fell apart.
Yeah, good analysis.
David,
do you agree that Tom's got to retire because you've said all season Tom's still the man?
Ask me this question at the end of the playoffs, and I'll tell you. But right now, I want you to double down on your opinion. Do you even think the Buccaneers are going to make the playoffs? Do you think the Panthers can catch them, or the Saints can catch them? They're only one game behind. They're only one game behind them. The Buccaneers are 6-9, and the Saints are 5-10, I believe.
I don't think the Saints can. I think they're terrible. The Panthers are having a bit of a run. Look, Tom could scrape in because he's Tom Brady, but they won't win a game in the playoffs.
Well, look, they will likely be versing the beloved Dallas Cowboys, where you were in recent days, Dad. I'm sure you saw the fandom that was over in Dallas. But
insane.
We will get onto some of the other games. We will get onto some what I like to call NFL madness that occurred over the week. And we're going to quickly do some rapid fire takes. We had the Colts and the Vikings, Matt Ryan being on the receiving end of the second biggest comeback in NFL history. He was in the infamous 28-3 comeback when Brady beat him in the Super Bowl. They were up 33-0 at halftime to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings came back 39-36. David, your thoughts on the comeback?
I did put the tip out at halftime to double up on the Vikings, or at least have a quarter of your stake on there at $40. So there's been some massive wins over the weekend from our punters and Priceless picks, just ginormous. People have won houses. Look, I don't rate the Colts at all. The Vikings shouldn't have got in that position. I don't think the Vikings can go far in the playoffs. I think they've had their run. I think it's over. Lucky. Don't rate either team. Especially the Colts are terrible.
Yeah, the Colts are terrible. Look, what we saw from the Vikings is
that was ridiculous. That to give up that lead,
it was.
It's nearly disgraceful.
It was honestly disgraceful. Many have been calling that Jeff Saturday should be the first interim coach to get fired. I don't know if that will happen because the Colts have played better under him, but it was ridiculous. Look, the Vikings were a bit of a prisoner of the moment. I had them winning the division at the start of the season, but I didn't have them.
You have been a big rap.
I have been a rap for the Vikings. I don't see them as a big threat in the playoffs, so I think both the 49ers and the Eagles, and even if the Cowboys beat the Buccaneers and burst them in the second round, the Cowboys have their number. Look, the Vikings were a prisoner of the moment when everyone was having their mid-season slumps in the middle of the season, and they were playing the best, and they were able to get the better of teams. But now that we've seen the playoffs are coming, everyone's starting to hit their stride, and the Vikings defense is coughing up yards. The offense is electric. Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, is a top 2 wide receiver in the NFL. He's going to break the single season receiving record likely. But we will get on to the next game, which is the Cowboys and the Jaguars. The Cowboys are up 17 points in the third quarter. They lost on a pick six in overtime. They face the Eagles next week. Jalen Hurts questionable to play with a shoulder injury. David, are the Cowboys done?
Oh, look, Luca, I love a sports bar in the USA, and I was in Dallas, and they were going crazy. Um, I've said the Cowboys aren't the real deal all year. No matter who you talk to in Dallas, they think they're going to win the Super Bowl every year. I've got to give it to the Dallas people. Wonderful city, wonderful, beautiful, friendly people, but they can't win. That was a just terrible loss. Like, they turned it up again.
Yeah.
And they're just not there. They're not there.
Yeah, look, I agree. It doesn't look like Odell Beckham Jr. is going to sign. There's been a lot of controversy with his injury. They signed T.Y. Hilton off the free agent market. He's not going to do anything for them realistically. Look, yeah, the Cowboys are done. They're going to be lucky to beat Tom Brady, who seems to have their number as well. They're going to be lucky to beat him in the first round of the playoffs. Micah Parsons, who was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year at the start of the year, who had an absolute scintillating first 4 or 5 games, has completely come off. He had a spurt yesterday, but Trevor Lawrence, the Jacksonville QB, he has come of age at the end of the season, and he, Clemson product. I was in Clemson earlier this month, and it was a great place to be. I can see why Trevor Lawrence liked it there so much. He's really come on. The Cowboys are done. Middle of the pack Dak has returned. He's going to continue.
Okay.
He's going to continue to be middle of the pack Dak. He's thrown 11 interceptions in 9 starts. That's going to continue into the playoffs, and it's just not going to work out for them. It's going to be the same old story. They're going to get hyped up. They might beat the Eagles if Jalen Hurts doesn't play. They're going to They're going to come into the playoffs having won some games, and everyone's going to hype them up. And, the bigger the rise, the bigger the fall. And Dallas Cowboy fans across the world are going to be absolutely crushed. I think we can both agree on that. The last thing before we wrap up the show is we will need to wrap up the Raiders and the Patriots. The Las Vegas Raiders, my favorite team in the whole NFL. As David knows, I love the Raiders. I've been on them. I've been on them the whole season. I love the Raiders so much. 24-24, 3 seconds to go. Patriots have the ball. They lateral the ball back to wide receiver Jakobi Meyers, who throws the ball back to his quarterback. Instead, it hits the hands of Las Vegas Raiders defensive end Chandler Jones, who stiff arms Mac Jones, takes it into the end zone, and scores a game-winning touchdown. I was nearly in tears when I saw this being played out because I could not think that this would happen. David, was this the most ridiculous play you have seen at the end of an NFL game?
Yes. What I love, though, Luca, is I enjoy watching the Raiders play every week because you hate them so much and you got them wrong all year. And I just enjoy watching their games because, again, you tipped against them this week and I tipped the Raiders. And when I saw that, I was in hysterics. I was just laughing, thinking of you. So that really made my weekend, just thinking of you and the Raiders.
Look, for those of you that don't know, David and I have been doing tips since the start of the year. And I think I tipped the Raiders for 10 weeks straight. And I think they won 2 out of their first 10, something ridiculous like that. And I made it my mission to not tip the Raiders for the rest of the season, which I have not done. And they have won, I think, 5 of their last 7. So it's great to know that the momentum is shifting as I'm tipping them. Look, the only thing I could compare this play to is the Miami Miracle, which also the Patriots were on the losing side of when the Miami was able to successfully lateral the ball all the way around the field and score a touchdown at the end of the game. Like I said, I was in tears. This is a ridiculous play. The game was tied. God damn it. They could have just ran the ball out of bounds and went to overtime. Jakobi Meyers himself at the end of the game said he tried to be a hero, which he did, and I thought it was ridiculous. The most ridiculous play I've seen in my NFL time. The fact that it wasn't even the team who had the ball that scored. It was the team who threw it back to the other team who scored. I don't even know I assume that goes down as an interception. I don't really know. Look, one thing is for sure. It capped off a ridiculous NFL weekend. We saw comebacks galore. We saw madness. We saw
amazing
drama.
Week of sport.
It was a great week of sport along with the World Cup. But, ladies and gentlemen, that will be all from us today on Priceless Takes. We will be back later this week for another round of Pricey's picks, along with some NBA previews. The NBA is also starting to heat up. We will get into some big debates in the NBA. Thank you all for joining. It was great having you here, David. Thank you again to Jakob, who was off screen. I will see you again later this week.
Bye.